Hey everybody, JB back with you once again, and welcome to Let's Play Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations, Episode 5, Bridge to the Turnabout. We are at what I believe will be the final piece of investigation in the entire game. In fact, the entire trilogy. Hopefully we will get that done in this video. At this point, we have two massive psyche locks that we've got to break that relate to what happened on the night of the murder. One of them is from Iris, and the other one here with 5 locks is Pearl. And we also have, not psyche locks, but in real life, real physical locks that are blocking off the entrance to the Sacred Cavern where Maya is apparently hiding, or hopefully she's still alive. We don't really know what happened to her. So at this point, let's go around and see what we can find out. We can't really talk to Pearls anymore, so I'm gonna go move around here. Did we go back to the... Oh, no, we didn't. Okay. It's been a few days since I recorded, so I couldn't remember if we had been here yet. I wonder if Sister Bikini is back at the main hall yet. I haven't seen Gumshoe around for a while either. Maybe they're having a cup of tea together somewhere. I bet Gumshoe is Sister Bikini's type. I feel like Sister Bikini's older. Well, they could be having tea in here, although by that look on her face, I don't think she's been having tea. Well, what's the damage? How's the Sacred Cavern? Oh, that's right, she doesn't know yet. Last time we saw her, there was an earthquake, and we were in suspense wondering what happened to the cave, thinking that maybe it collapsed in. It looks like it survived, but we have a bigger problem now. I told Sister Bikini all about it, about the 5 locks that were stopping us from getting inside the Sacred Cavern. But who? Who could have done that? The only people who know how to set those trick locks are those of the Kurine tradition. We have Iris of the Sacred Cavern trying her best to open them for us right now. So, one thing I've been curious about, and maybe somebody mentioned something that I forgot here, but what is Iris's relation to the Kurine tradition? Because all we know is that she came here, apparently when she was young, and lived with the sisters and were taught some things, but like, no one's referred to her as Mystic Iris to say that she's had, you know, channeling powers or anything. So does she? Because I was wondering a few videos ago, you know, maybe she was involved in some kind of channeling incident, like the one we investigated before. So I'm curious about that. Actually, there's something I've been meaning to talk with you about, Sister Bikini. Oh yes, we were in the middle of a chat, weren't we? Yes, you were telling me how the Master of Kurine disappeared 17 years ago. I want to know why Misty Faye suddenly appeared at this temple. Oh yeah, that was the other bombshell from last time. We found out that Elise Donim is Maya's and Mia's mother, Misty Faye. And we had previously heard about her in the very first game, as the person that the police had gone to for help with the whole Gregory Edgeworth, I think that was Edgeworth's dad's name, incident where he died and they needed to channel her. And then in the second game, we discovered that Misty was still gone, and Morgan Faye, the mother of Pearl, I think she's the mother of Pearl, she's Maya's aunt at least, she was trying to basically usurp the title of Master for herself by orchestrating this giant incident to frame Maya. So, at any rate, that's all we know about Misty. It was about a week ago when Mystic Misty arrived. Mystic Misty, try saying that 5 times fast. After she showed me the talisman that proved she was the Master, she said, "Someone is trying to destroy the Kurine tradition's main family line. I am here to put a stop to them." Well, we do know of somebody who's attempted to do that before. In fact, we just mentioned them here. Someone was trying to destroy the main family line? There's only one heir to the title of Master at any time, and it's usually the eldest. That child becomes the new master of Khura'in, and her daughter's the main family. All other mediums become branch family members, with no hope of controlling the clan. That's why nothing has changed throughout the history of the clan. Yeah, that was what we learned before. The one thing that was a little confusing, though, and the thing I still wonder about is, did Mia, like, just totally throw all this away to become a lawyer, or was that, like, a temporary thing that she pursued before she would have become a master if she wasn't killed? Like, that, I don't think we ever got an answer to that, did we? Like, we didn't get a full rundown of, hey, if Mia wasn't dead, she would have been the master instead of Maya. Branch families always have and always will plot to erase those of the main family line. So, this has happened before then? If you say always have, I mean, I feel like if that's the case, then you need to come up with a better solution. Is the power of the master worth this much bloodshed? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not really that... I mean, it is a big deal, but it's not worth this much. You believe in the technique, don't you, Mr. Wright? You know its power is real. Yes, I do. It's been 2 years since I first met Maya. In that time, I've seen her channel the spirits of the dead plenty of times. During the mask case, and during Maggie Bird's trial, too. Thanks to Maya, Mia's always on hand to help me out when I need her the most. Yeah, it's kind of weird at first, but I feel like we've gotten used to it. The Khura'in technique has made a huge difference to the world, you know? I mean, the ability to commune with the dead, that's true psychic power, you know? You know, come to think of it, now that I'm thinking about the implications of this, I feel like there are applications beyond just what we've seen here. I mean, you could disguise somebody even more so than what traditional disguises allow. Members of the tradition have always been there, behind every important leader. Who wouldn't respect such a tremendous skill? Yeah, like, this could really be used to do some pretty crazy stuff. I suppose so, but with all that power and influence, I kind of expected you to be really rich by now. Are you saying we're poor, Mr. Wright? Ho ho ho, you're very direct, aren't you? People don't believe it anymore, you see. All because of one little mistake. Was that what happened with the Gregory Edgeworth thing? A mistake? What mistake? It was 17 years ago. That's when everything came crashing down. All because of that incident. Yeah. That incident. Is she talking about what I think she is? Yeah, the DL6 incident. I'm sure the record still exists if you're interested. Locked up, of course. It was called the DL6 incident. That's the name of the file. Hey, there's that classic suspense music there. The DL6 incident. I knew it! Alright. The DL6 incident. I know it well. I handled a related case just 2 years ago. Ah, that's right. So it was you who was the defense attorney on that case. So she heard about that, then. A murder that took place 17 years ago. Well, that's a new image. I don't think we've ever seen that. It was the first time in the country's history the police ever used a spirit medium. The idea was to channel the victim's spirit to learn the identity of the murderer. And the medium who performed the channeling was Misty Faye, Maya's mother. Through Mystic Misty's channeling, the name of a certain man surfaced. Armed with that as evidence, the investigators were spurred into action. But that man, he was found not guilty, wasn't he? That's right, he was. And the case remained a mystery. In other words, we failed. It was the first case the world had ever seen the Khura'in tradition openly involved in. It was all over the media, the public, the judiciary, the people of Khura'in Village. Everyone judged her. Everyone said Mystic Misty's powers were a sham. And then, she just disappeared, vanished, while everyone still thought of her as a fraud. But I know the truth. Misty Faye's spirit channeling wasn't a sham at all. Of course it wasn't. And since you managed to reveal the truth, we're finally making a comeback. Oh, okay. So, I guess there's been some waves that have been made as a result of this, so that's interesting. The crying tradition is starting to recover at last. So are, like, more people coming up into, like, places like this or the actual village to learn due to what happened? I mean, considering all the headlines I would have made, I'm sure there's got to be some repercussions beyond just the immediate circle of the families. But with a new master wielding the power of the clan, does she mean Maya? The spiritual power of the crying channeling technique is in the blood. Maya's told me the exact same thing before. We, the women of the Fae clan, have always been spirit mediums. It's because the power to communicate with spirits flows strongly through us. According to Maya, only the women in the family can inherit that power. The main family's bloodline stems directly from Mystic Amy. With each new generation, only one daughter becomes the new master. And the ones who don't become branch families, right? That's right. And it's always a cause of tragedy. Like I said, I feel like there could be a way to avoid all this. You know, Maya had a sister too. An older sister named Mia. Oh yes, I've heard of her. What? You know about Mia? Of course. She became a lawyer in the hopes of discovering what happened to her mother. And lost her life as a result. Do you know what Mystic Mia is rumored to have said? She said it wasn't only because of her mother that she became a lawyer. She also didn't want to fight with her sister over the leadership of the tradition. Oh. Really? Well, she saw what happened to her own mother, Mystic Misty, as she grew up. I guess Mystic Mia got tired of seeing all the rivalry between her mom and her aunt. That's right, Misty Faye had an elder sister, too. And we have seen her before. And Misty, having superior powers, managed to usurp the Master's seat from her. Mystic Misty's sister is Mystic Morgan, as you probably know. Yep, we are familiar with her. Morgan, there's a name I know well. It was a year ago now at Maya's home, Kurian Village. What she did was terrible. It was also she could make her own daughter the next master. I feel like we've seen this kind of silhouetting before, and the last time it happened, it was pretty obvious who was being silhouetted in the mask-to-mask thing. I suppose if you know about Mystic Morgan's daughter, then you must have already realized that Iris... Huh? Iris? What's Iris got to do with any of this? Don't tell me she's related to the Fays. That Iris is Mystic Morgan's daughter. What? But how's that possible? Because, like, in the last game, didn't Pearl... Like, wasn't she trying to position Pearl as the new master? Or was I reading that wrong? What? Iris is what? Is she kidding me? Iris is Morgan Faye's daughter? So she... Wait a minute. Then who's Dahlia Hawthorne if she was, like, the daughter of a jeweler or whatever? Did you just say that Iris is Morgan Faye's daughter? Oops! I thought you already knew. It sounded like you'd met one of Mystic Morgan's daughters already. I have. I know her very well. Oh? Yes. Pearl's. Pearl Faye. But I always thought she was an only child. Yeah. You jest! That child, she's Mystic Morgan's... I had no idea. Wait, what? Mystic Morgan? But she's in prison now, isn't she? Yes, ever since she was found to be a co-conspirator in a murder case last year. Mm-hmm. Oh, now they show her. It was all done to set Pearls up as the next master. Okay, so I wasn't misreading that. So, does Iris just not have powers? Is that what the issue is? Because she's the oldest, so shouldn't she have, like, the first right to that? instead of Pearl? I see. So I've been wrong all this time. Wrong about Pearl? Mystic Morgan had 3 daughters, not 2. 3? Who's the other one, then? Wait, what? 3? Yes, Iris, her twin sister, and Mystic Pearl. Twin sister? What? Twin sister? Oh, didn't you know? It all happened 20 years ago. After the clan leadership was taken from her by her sister, Mystic Morgan's life crumbled. It wasn't many years later that Kurai's reputation hit an all-time low. When Mystic Morgan's husband realized his wife would never become the master, he left her in the village, taking their twin daughters with him. Oh. How awful. He was a jeweler, you know. In the end, he remarried, and that's when it happened. Oh. Oh my goodness. This is way more serious than I thought. So, Iris is not just some random person. Dahlia Hawthorne's not just some random person. They are both related to Morgan Fay. That is very interesting. Also, twin sisters. Does this mean that Iris and Dahlia are 2 separate people? Because we thought that they were one and the same, but now it kind of explains a lot of stuff as far as, like, Iris recognizing us or not recognizing certain people. It's interesting because there's certain things that I feel like if she were Dahlia, she would remember, but she doesn't. Somehow she knows us, though, so if she's not Dahlia, that doesn't explain that. Like, that's the weird part. So if they are separate people, that doesn't explain how she recognized us. But if she's also not Dahlia, then why would she need to repent of her sins or whatever? Like, that's the other thing. So there's got to be more to that than we know. He decided to give one of his girls up, to be looked after by us here at the temple. That was Iris, you see. It's unbelievable. If Iris has a twin sister, could it be? Can you tell me one more thing, Sister Bikini? What was the name of Iris's sister? I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. I just can't remember. All I can recall is that her father was a jeweler. Well, that's a clue, I guess. A jeweler. I think we know. Thank you very much. You've helped clear up a lot of details. Pearl's had 2 older sisters, huh? Yes, that's right. No doubt it was all because of Mystic Morgan's anger towards the main family. Anger? What do you mean? Her twin daughters were taken from her by her jeweler husband. Oh yeah, I guess that would also be a source of bitterness too. But even that couldn't destroy her dream that a child of hers would one day lead the clan. Oh, and that's the reason why. Okay, so that's the reason why it had to be Pearl then. That's why she had pearls. It seems that the incident here was a result of Mystic Morgan's anger. It was able to break free of the bars that confine her. So, hang on a sec. Who is Pearl's father, then? So Iris has a twin sister. The plot thickens. But this information will be useless unless I can flesh it out a bit. I need to ask more questions and get some more info. Alright. I'm curious if we can present Maya's profile. So, this young lady is a new master. That's right, Maya Fey. Oh dear, if I had known who she was, I would have prepared a feast, not a boring old pot roast and some gravy. Once we get her out, you can give her all the feasts you want. Of course! You just make sure you get her out alright. You get her out, alright? She's the master, you just have to rescue her. So, if Iris and Dahlia are 2 separate people, which I think they are, I mean, the fact that she even brings up that they are twins has to be important somehow. That would explain why Iris knows some stuff about this case, but doesn't seem to know anything about sticking the sword inside Misty. Or anything about the actual murder? Because if Dahlia did all of that, and she also is out of jail... It's interesting. At any rate, let's move out here. So where do we need to go next? Here? Oh, something new. I was expecting Larry and Pearls to be here. I guess they must have gone to collect firewood. I suppose I'll have to check back later. Okay. I guess the Losers Club is not in session today. Let's go to the other side. And let's go to the garden. Alright, Edgeworth is here. I don't know if we can really talk to him about anything. What's the latest evidence we got? This? No. Guess he doesn't want to talk to us. Let's go back over here. What about here? Anybody here? Iris. Can we do the Psyche Walks? I'm curious. I have some doubts. But I'm gonna try it. We only have 3, so hopefully we can do something here with this. The night of the crime. I think it's time you told me the truth about what you were doing on that night. You said you were in your room at Hazakura Temple the entire time. Do you still claim that to be the truth? Yes, that's where I was. Iris, I believe you're innocent. That's why I want to believe what you're telling me, too. But I can't, because this person saw you somewhere else on the night of the murder. Oh, great. I forgot who that was. Was it Elise? It was Bikini, right? Yeah. Because she saw her with the sword. Or, she saw someone who looks like her with the sword, let's be clear. I'm talking about Sister Bikini, of course. Sister Bikini. Her testimony in court today was very clear. That night I was helping an acolyte with her training in the Inner Temple. But, well, as you can see, my back likes to act up violently. So I left Iris to help the acolyte and returned to Hazakura Temple. Sister Bikini didn't just see you, she spoke with you. You two talked about Maya's training that night. So you see, Iris, you were there at the Inner Temple on the night of the murder. That's very impressive, Mr. Wright. Okay, we got one. The acolyte's actual training was due to start after 10 o'clock that night. I left the main hall early, so I wouldn't be late. What time was that? Let me see. It takes about 20 minutes to walk between the main hall and the Inner Temple. So I would have left at about 9:40 p.m., I think. I'm sorry, Iris, but lying just doesn't suit you. Huh? Now, you say you left the main hall at 9:40 p.m., but what you say doesn't add up with this. What would that be? The snowmobile? Is that what it is? Is it this? No, because I wouldn't really prevent her from going out in the snow. Would it be this? Yeah, because if she went to the Inner Temple and got there at 10 p.m., it wouldn't line up with that. So I think that's probably the main... Yeah. You yourself testified to the contrary, don't you remember? You said that you rang the lights out bell at 10 o'clock that night. Is that the first time we've heard that, or did we hear that in the actual night? Ah. Plus, only moments before you rang that bell, you were seen at the main hall by the most reliable witness I have. Who's that? Me. Mr. Wright. We even spoke a little that evening. That's when you gave me this. Surely you haven't forgotten. No, that's right, I remember. And that brings us to another puzzling fact, Iris. At 10 o'clock on the night of the murder, you were seen in 2 different places at the same time. It's time you told me exactly what's been going on, Iris. So far, I've managed to prove 2 things. First, on the night of the incident, you were at the Inner Temple. And second, at the exact same time, you were ringing the bell at Hazakura Temple. There's only one possible explanation for this apparent impossibility. I think we know what it is. On the night of the incident, you were seen in 2 different places at the same time, which means there must have been 2 of you. I can't think of any other explanation, Iris. But that's crazy. How could that be? There's only 1 of me. It's impossible. Impossible? I wonder. The way you're trembling certainly seems to suggest otherwise. Oh, you're seriously trying to suggest there's more than 1 of me? And show me the evidence. Show me something that proves there's more than 1 of me. Do we have that? Hang on. Yeah, here we go. No? Mr. Wright, when you said there was another me, I was kind of expecting someone who looked like me. Oh. Boo. Okay. Do we have something? I feel like we need more evidence then, if we need to, like, an actual photo. Alright. Let's come back to this then. I just realized that there was one other place we forgot to go to, and that was the courtyard area. Over here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, good. We got something going on here. Who's this? Sounds like someone's happy. What tune is that they're humming? Oh, it's Gumshoe. Wait, this is a Victor Kudo song. No motive, no crime, no motive, no crime. Sing it with me, no motive, no crime. I remember when we used to search in the channeling room in Kurai. Whoop, I love my job. Who cares if the clues I find are no good? That's not what investigating's all about. Oh, we're not singing anymore. The investigator investigates for love investigating. It's a passion. Good cases we had, good cases we lost along the way. I never would have guessed that Gumshoe was into reggae. Oh, is that what this is? I was singing along to the music in the background. Every case is gonna be airtight. Every case is gonna be airtight. Hey, pal. Huh? Who, me? How long have you been there? I just got here. Oh, okay. So what are you up to, detective? I'm investigating, pal. I made a promise to Mr. Edgeworth. I promised I would find the real murder weapon. The real murder weapon. The barbed sword thing turned out to be a false lead, right? I'm giving it my best shot here, but I still haven't turned up any clues. I just found these weird scraps of paper. It looks like a letter or something. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the case, though. A letter? Ooh, this could be useful. Let's talk about everything here. So how's the investigation going, Detective Gumshoe? I don't know if I should be telling you, pal, but I guess I can't hurt. Looks like the murder took place in the Inner Temple Garden. And they're taking that bloody writing on the lantern pretty seriously back at HQ. What? You mean... I don't have the details, pal. All I know is, if you don't find Maya down in that sacred cavern, we're going to be faced with one ugly situation. Yeah, it's interesting about the bloody writing, because somebody went through a lot of trouble to clean out the area around the lantern. But what's interesting is that the blood on the lantern is still there. So did the murder happen and whoever the murderer was cleaned out all that stuff, but then ran out of time? Like, why would they not have cleaned the lantern? It's very interesting that they didn't do that. What kind of ugly situation are we looking at here? You got me. I don't know. They're not my words, pal. Then who said it? Mr. Godot. Godot? What do you mean by that? About that letter you found. Don't remind me, pal. I'm busting a gut here trying to find the murder weapon. And all I find is some burnt-up old letter. Burnt-up old letter? Yeah, it was in that incinerator right outside the inner temple. Aha! The incinerator? I knew it. I knew I wasn't imagining it. Yeah. There was snow on the incinerator when I first saw it. But after the incident, the snow had melted away, which means someone used the incinerator on the night of the murder. What's up with you, pal? I've got it right here if you want to take a look. Can I? Do you mind? Sure, go nuts. I don't want it, pal. You can have it. It's all spirit mediums and masters and stuff. I bet it's got no relation to the case. Oh, I think it could. Spirit mediums? Burnt letter added to the courtroom, found by Gumshoe in the inner temple incinerator. It's gotta be important if it mentions spirit mediums and masters. Well, let's take a look. Be careful. Once night falls, should be there. As soon as you hear the lights out bell, you must channel her spirit. Leave everything up to her. Her name is... She is our the whole... Here's a picture of her. Use it when you channel her. I know you can do it. Once this is... Burn the... Also tell anyone about this letter. Gravely roast the master in the fires of Hades and bring our vengeance to fruition. Ooh, okay. That sounds very serious. I better give it a good looking over and some serious thought. Make sure you chuck it in the trash when you're done. Littering is a crime, pal. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this. This seems very important. So what do you know about the real murder weapon so far? Well, it wasn't the Shichishido that was found impaled in the victim's body. Mr. Edgeworth proved that in court today. Yes, that's true. In which case, it would have been another blade. And that's what you're running around like a headless chicken looking for now, huh? Yeah, and man, is it tiring work. But let me tell you something, pal. I'm no chicken. We've got the feather of forensics in our cap these days. We're using the department's secret weapon on this. Ooh, is it that metal detector? Secret weapon. I like how there's murder weapon and secret weapon. What's this secret weapon of yours? You want to know? You gotta think scientifically, okay? Ooh, I'm on the edge of my seat. Alright. The murder weapon was a sword. Swords are, scientifically speaking, made of metal, right? Any questions so far? No. I know what he's gonna say, but I'll let him look smart. So what's the perfect tool for the job? Ta-da! A metal detector! Raise your hand if you didn't see this coming from a mile away. I'm not gonna raise my hand because I totally saw that coming from a mile away. Well, you want to give scientific investigation a go? Huh? Me? I've been using this thing for hours now. It gets pretty boring after a while. Why don't you give it a try? I don't know. Should I help Detective Gumshoe out or not? Yeah, of course. Come on, pal. It's good fun, I'm telling you. Alright then. I guess I'll give it a go. Like I said, this is the department's most advanced gadget. The absolute best. It's so sensitive, you could make it cry. It's so high-tech, you could skydive off it. Oh, bother. So now I'm going to tell you how to use it. It's possible the real murder weapon is around here somewhere, right? Sure, that's what we were trying to find out. Right, so first, let's turn the detector on. That's the sound of the metal detector's signal bouncing off of something metallic. Next, move the detector around and give this courtyard a good looky-sees, pal. Don't worry, this baby will let you know when you've hit something on something metallic. When that happens, press enter to give the area a good hard stare. This thing picks up metallic objects that are hidden from sight, too. Take a good look and find anything that looks suspicious, okay? Alright. Shishido next to the golden statue wasn't the real murder weapon, pal. Yeah, I know. I just thought I'd check it again anyway. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Do you know about that sword? It's supposed to represent the multiple branches that life can take, all ending as one. Yes, I heard something about that. You know what I think about sometimes? What kind of life I'd be leading had I not joined the homicide division. You think about that kind of stuff, detective? Of course I do. I think about it a lot. Me as a traffic cop, me as a detention officer, me as the Blue Badger. How about you not in the police? There's something to be said about the humor value of Gumshoe as the Blue Badger. Yep, I agree. It doesn't look like there's anything here. Hey, pal, all you gotta do is watch the detector and let it tell you what's where, okay? Alright already, I'm not exactly a whiz at machinery, you know. This is Miss Donim's staff, isn't it? Scientifically speaking, they're usually made of wood. But the detector's reacting to it. Yeah, but however you look at it, the thing's made of wood, alright? I don't bother investigating anything unless it looks like it might be metallic. Isn't the whole point of a metal detector to find metal where you can't see it? It's weird that this thing is causing a racket. Here, let me take a look at it. Hey, hands off! Examining evidence is a job for the... Wait, what? Ah! The top is coming off. Look what you've done. You've damaged a really important piece of evidence. Ah! Oh. That's a sword inside the staff. Is this... Could it be the murder weapon? Uh-oh. I think we found it. I'd never have guessed there'd be a sword concealed in the victim's staff. They call this kind of thing a sword cane, pal. This one's a real gem. The workmanship is really something else. Thank goodness it wasn't a cane sword, or else the victim would have stabbed her own foot. I officially give up on trying to figure out how Gumshoe's mind works. If the real scene of the crime was the inner temple garden, then why was a sword used to kill the victim found in the main hall courtyard? Hey Gumshoe, who knows about the hidden sword? No one. Even the police didn't know about this until I discovered it just now. Well, as they say, there's no team in Gumshoe. Yeah, you know what? Oh wait, I guess the M in team is in Gumshoe. But the other letters aren't. Well, I guess E is. Yeah, I guess E is. It doesn't look like there are any traces of blood on it. And I guess this isn't the murder weapon, huh? Well, it could be. No. I'm sure someone just wiped it off after the murder. Do we have luminol? Maybe we can use that. Yeah, of course. This thing's definitely the murder weapon. Great job, pal. It's about the same length as the Shichido, too. This must be the murder weapon. Okay, I'm gonna run over the forensics. There's gotta be some traces of blood left, even if most of it has been wiped off. See you later, pal. Alright. Every case is gonna be airtight. Every case is gonna be airtight. Wait up, detective. Huh? What is it, pal? I'm a pretty busy guy right now, you know. You're going to get that staff analyzed, right? Would you mind holding off for just a while? Huh? What are you talking about, pal? Please. Just until we find Maya. Maya? What's this got to do with her? I don't know, but I'm starting to get a really bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Oh? How so? Look, Maya's trapped inside the sacred cavern right now, and, well, we don't even know if she's okay or not. The more evidence and testimony I hear, the more uneasy I feel. You don't think? Maya's been murdered. Please, detective. Let's just wait until we can get inside the sacred cavern. You're looking kind of viridian there. Okay. Just stop it with that face, pal. One thing, though. This staff's secret trick. Let's keep it between you and me, alright? If it gets out that we knew about it and it didn't say anything, we're finished. I understand. This is just a regular run-of-the-mill staff, you got it? Okay, now you take good care of it, pal. Thank you, detective. Don't worry. She'll be fine. Gumshoe. You know, there's a place at the base of this mountain that has some really good pasta. How about I take you there when you find Maya, huh, pal? Sure. Thanks. Victim's staff received from Detective Gumshoe for safekeeping. Has a sword hidden inside. No one knows this except me and Detective Gumshoe. I can't help but wonder, though. What was Elise Donim doing with a staff like this in the first place? That is a really good question. Alright. Can we do anything... Actually, what would happen if I presented the staff to her? I was wondering about the... Oh, no. Nothing. Okay. I didn't know if, like, you could get other reactions from that. What happens if we go back here? Nothing. Okay. We still don't have anything new with the... quest to get a photo of Dahlia. What happens if I present this to Edgeworth? Does he have anything to say? Nope. Okay. What about you? Can I present this to you? What about this? Yeah! Oh. Never mind. I forgot about that. Okay, I'm gonna look up the answer to this. Let's see, what did we miss? Oh! We need to present, question mark, profile to Edgeworth. Yeah, we kind of did this a little in the not ideal order, because he did say some things earlier about finding out more information about meeting Iris before. Hey, Edgeworth. Did you know that Iris had a twin sister? What? A twin? You can't be serious. Sister Bikini told me. But the problem is she didn't know the name of this twin. There was nothing about Iris having a sister in the files I checked. Well, Iris was taken in by the temple when she was really young. Apparently her sister was raised by her father. A jeweler, I think. A jeweler? Right, I just might know who this twin sister of hers is. I had a feeling you'd say that. Let me guess. Her name is Dahlia Hawthorne, right? Ooh, we haven't heard that music in a little while. Yes, exactly. Please tell me what you know about her, Edgeworth. Please. It was my first court case 6 years ago. I was a greenhorn, and due to my inexperience, the defendant died. You're talking about Terry Falls, right? You know about that case? You're not the only one who noticed something about Iris and Dahlia Hawthorne. I checked one of Mia's old files from 6 years ago. Yes, Dahlia was a key witness in that case. Dahlia and Terry Falls conspired together to stage a fake kidnapping 11 years ago. They stole a jewel worth $2 million from Dahlia's father, a jeweler. And 5 years after that, she murdered her own sister, Valerie Hawthorne, to keep her from talking. So I think it Valerie was, like, from another mother then. I have to believe that's the case. Her sister? Well, her stepsister, actually. They weren't blood related. Valerie was the only daughter of Dahlia's father's second wife. Yeah. Oh. And this is when she entered my life. The woman who tried to kill me. Yep. So after Terry Falls died, what happened to Dahlia? Did you check that out? Does it really matter? Like I said, Dahlia isn't connected with this case. Are you sure about that, Edgeworth? Why are you so sure about that? It's simple. Dahlia Hawthorne is dead. What? Well, her metabolic processes are a matter of interest only to historians, so to speak. She's dead? What do you mean by Dahlia Hawthorne is dead, Edgeworth? Right. I must confess that in reading her file, I came to know of the murder case you were involved in during your college years. Yeah. Dahlia Hawthorne was found guilty, thanks to the persistence of Mia Fey. Mia Fey! Mia Fey! At the time, Dahlia, it's like she was possessed by a demon or something. It's been almost 5 years since that guilty verdict was handed down, and her sentence was finally carried out. She was executed last month. Last month? Executed? I'm sure that's a bit of a shock for you, right? And for more reasons than one. But do you understand now? She can't possibly be connected with this case. Well, I don't know. I think she can. I mean, what if... Hang on. What if this spirit that's being channeled is her? She's dead, and once someone is dead, there's no way to revive them. I would disagree in this case. There's no way to revive the dead? I wonder. It seems you're not aware of one other connection yet, Edgeworth. And what is that? It's about Iris and Dahlia Hawthorne's mother. What's their mother got to do with any of this? She's Morgan Fey, a spirit medium from a branch family of the Kurine channeling technique. Did you say Kurine channeling technique? Did you know something about it? Oh yes, I know it's connected with that fraudulent spirit medium. Fraudulent? I was involved in another nightmare 17 years ago. Wait a minute, but Edgeworth, doesn't he know that, like, the reason why she said what she said was because the ghost of Edgeworth's dad was, like, mistaken? I was caught up in the middle of a murder investigation. The police didn't have any leads. They were stumped, and that's when they called her in. She was a very famous spirit medium and the master of her channeling school. But you know what happened? As a result of her efforts, an innocent man was accused of murder. She and her powers, they were all fraudulent. Edgeworth, go to the police records room. It's all in there. All you have to do is check the DL6 incident case file and you'll know. But we were involved with that. We have read that. Of course. How could I forget? Edgeworth was the victim in that case. Edgeworth, you'll understand someday, and then you'll see that the Kurine channeling technique is real. Okay. So does this mean that we have enough now? We do! Okay, there we go. Dahlia Hawthorne. Alright, let's go back here, and let's go back through up to the point we were at before. Okay. We have Bikini here. Do all this. Do-do-do-do-do. Blah blah, and we got one. And then now we've got this. The testimony. Okay. Yeah, that bell was a little high-pitched, more so than I was thinking. Alright. Alright, here we go. I have a firm grasp of the situation now, Iris. You have a sister, don't you? A twin sister, perhaps. Ah! That's right. Dahlia Hawthorne. A woman I know only too well. I had no idea you knew of her. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. But she's no longer... Yes, I know. Her sentence was carried out recently, wasn't it? I'm sorry. Thank you. There's no need to explain now, is there, Iris? The second you who was here at the temple on the night of the murder, it was your twin sister, Dahlia Hawthorne. Or rather, it was someone channeling her, apparently. But you just said it was yourself a second ago. My sister's dead. Have you forgotten that? Have you forgotten this, Iris? This is a channeling dojo. A training ground of the Kurine channeling technique. That night, someone channeled Dahlia's spirit, and you knew about it. And that's the secret you've been trying to hide from me. Ah! So who was it then? I mean, it couldn't have been her. Was it Pearl, maybe? I was in my room in the main hall that night. As soon as I heard that I'd been spotted at the inner temple, I knew. I knew it was my sister, Dahlia, the other half of me who passed away last month. Just as I suspected. The Iris that Sister Bikini saw at the inner temple the night of the murder. It was Dahlia Hawthorne. Why didn't you tell me this before? But because my sister always does the right thing. I don't know about that. Excuse me? And because I mustn't get in the way of what she's trying to do. I already betrayed her once before. I can't do it again. You betrayed her? What do you mean? That's why I had to accept I may be found guilty. It's the only way. What is she talking about? You know about it, don't you, Mr. Wright? About the fake kidnapping that took place here in Eagle Mountain 11 years ago? Were you involved with that? That was the start of it all. It's what started her down that twisted path. She started to commit crime after crime, and in the end, she lost her life. It's all because I betrayed her. How did you betray her, Iris? It was no coincidence that Eagle Mountain is where the exchange was to take place. After all, I helped plan the whole thing. What? But I got scared, so I ran away. What are you talking about? Why would you help her? Stealing $2 million from your own father! That's awful! But I promised that I'd help. And she didn't do it for the money. Huh? It was revenge. On her father. Revenge? Why is revenge all the way up here? What do you mean by revenge? It was a hideous man. He threw our mother away and then sent her to hell. Her mother? She must be talking about Morgan Fay. Our mother was the eldest daughter of the main branch of the Fay family. The main family had a lot of influence in many business and political circles at the time. As the eldest daughter, our mother was set to inherit all of that as the next master. That's the reason our father married our mother in the first place. For power. But his plan backfired, because our mother's sister took it all from her. She took over as the master of Kurine. That would be Misty Fay, Maya's mother. But before long, the credibility of the Kurine tradition hit rock bottom. The new master, Mystic Misty Fay, made a terrible mistake. It was during the investigation of the DL6 incident. After that happened, our father took me and my twin sister away, leaving our mother and our home behind. He hated the place. He said it was a hick dive and that he had no reason to stay there. And that's when he came here to Hazakura Temple. Yes. The woman my father took as his next wife already had a daughter, Valerie. I had no place in his new family, you see. Oh. And I haven't seen my mother once since then. Having the master's seat stolen from her and being rejected by her own family, I've heard she's been very battered, spiritually and emotionally. I think I'm finally beginning to see how the pieces fit together. I have asked her everything I can in my capacity as a prosecutor. This incident, everything related to it goes back to the history of the Fae clan. That's what it looks like. Iris, there's just one more thing I want you to tell me. What is it? During the incident in which your sister, Dahlia Hawthorne, poisoned a lawyer, she began a relationship with a certain college student in order to hide the evidence. That college student, have you heard anything about him? Well, I did hear one thing. She said she hated his guts. Oh, I see. Thank you for your help. You're welcome. Hurry up, Phoenix Wright. There is still much to investigate. Leave these locks to me. I'll open them for you. I promise. Thank you. I suppose I better continue my investigation. There's still one giant secret left to unlock. Pearls' psyche lock. Yep. That's the one I'm the most worried about now. So, did, like, Morgan or somebody come in here and pour the gravy on that thing? Or maybe whoever was channeling Dahlia? Alright, well, let's find Pearly. Whoop, not there. I went the wrong way. I need to move this way. Okay. Look at that! They really did make a fire right in front of the shack. Oh, Mr. Nick! Ha! You're too late, Nick! You came here for one of our potatoes, we've already polished them all off. I think I've pretty much got all the evidence I need. Now I just need to find out what Pearls is hiding. Alright, Pearls. You gave us this, Magatama. Well, I guess it was Maya who did. Oh, wait. Was it Pearl or Maya? Now I forgot. It was one of them. And it looks like you're going to be our final Psyche Walk challenge here. So let's do this. The night of the crime. After dinner on the night of the murder, you were supposed to be in Elise Donim's room reading a book together, correct? Yes, I was so happy when she invited me. But I didn't go in the end. You didn't go? No, there was somewhere else I had to go instead. I was so worried I had to go. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so nervous. So Pearls never went to Miss Donim's room because she was too worried about something or someone else. Pearls. On the night of the murder, you went to this place, didn't you? I'm really curious if this letter was for her, but I can't look at it. But I have a feeling she was over here. No? You went here, didn't you, Pearls? Looks like she's still not going to open up to me. This is where you went because you were so worried, right? Then the next question is, who or what were you so worried about? Now, I'm going to take a guess, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, okay? You mean you know? If I'm right, will you tell me the whole truth? Okay. You went to this place for one very simple reason, and that is this. Hang on a sec, I'm just going to look at this real quick. I think it could be this. No? Yeah. That was not correct. She was worried about her. Wait, what? Alright, I'm gonna make sure. I don't think I got this wrong because we managed to make it. Whoops. I lost my window. Sorry about that. Oh, if you hold the mouse down, you can drag the cursor around. I didn't realize that. Alright, I'm going to continue going through this. Alright, what else do we know? Okay, I'm not really sure. I'm gonna have to look this one up. Oh, right! Profiles. Maya. It's obvious what you were so worried about, Pearls. It was Maya, wasn't it? Ah! You knew the training Maya was undertaking was dangerous. After all, it was the special course. I signed up for your special course. Well, my, quite brave of you considering how cold it is. Young people can be so reckless with their health. Don't blame me if you become one with those you channel. Wahaha! Ho ho ho! Sister Bikini scared you with what she said, didn't she? Oh yeah, she was with us when that was said. And because it was you who introduced Hasakura Temple to Maya in the first place, you felt responsible, didn't you? Thinking about what could happen to Mystic Maya made me more and more worried. I couldn't sit still at all. That's why I decided to go and find out how she was doing at the Inner Temple. Alright, one down. Then we're clear now that you went to the Inner Temple that night, Pearls. What's not clear is what happened after that. About what time was it when you headed over to the Inner Temple? It was probably around 9:30 when I left the main hall. I heard the real training was supposed to start at 10. I wanted to get there before it started. But there was so much snow, so I didn't get there until after 10 o'clock. Until after 10? How'd you know what time it was? Because I heard the bell ring for lights out. She heard the lights out bell. The Hasakura Temple bell's pretty small though, isn't it? You must have had really good hearing. I was really trying to pick up the sound of that bell, that's all. I didn't want to miss it. That would be terrible. She was trying to hear the bell? Tell me, Pearls, why were you so worried about hearing that bell? Huh? Oh, I think I know why. The reason why you were so worried about that bell was because of this. Alright, now do we present this? Yeah, there we go. You were given some instructions to follow for that night, weren't you? I presume you recognize these pieces of paper? Ah! Well, where did you... In the incinerator at the Inner Temple. Pearls. You were following the instructions in this letter that night, weren't you? That's why you couldn't afford to miss the sound of the lights out bell. I'm speechless, Mr. Nick. You're amazing! These instructions that were found in the incinerator, I believe they were written for you, Pearls. For me? No. As you can see, a large portion has been burnt, but the last section is still fairly legible. As soon as you hear the lights out bell, you must channel her spirit. Who was it, Pearls? Whose spirit were you supposed to be channeling? Taking into account the author of the note and their purpose for writing it, whose spirit would Pearls have been trying to channel? Don't overthink it, Phoenix. It's pretty obvious who Pearls was supposed to channel. Yep, the person you were trying to channel that night, Pearls, was... Yep, it was Dahlia Hawthorne, wasn't it? That was the name that was in the letter. Ah! It's just as I suspected. It wasn't Iris whose sister Bikini met at the Inner Temple that night. It was Dahlia Hawthorne. And that's why she had a cloak on. Oh, I missed that. Do you know what kind of a woman Dahlia Hawthorne was? No. I've never heard of anyone by that name before reading those instructions. I thought so. Pearls doesn't have a clue. She doesn't know that Dahlia is her sister. About the instructions in the letter I found, Pearls. Who wrote them? Whoever it was asked you to channel the spirit of someone you'd never heard of. You must have quite a lot of respect for them. After all, you followed their instructions without question. So here's my next question. Who wrote this set of instructions for you to follow? And I think that's pretty obvious. Pearls, I have to wonder about something. You didn't have any idea what these instructions meant, did you? But you followed them to the letter regardless. Was that like her stomach dropping or something? Why? Because it was your own mother who asked you. That's why. How did you... I figured it out. The person who wrote you this letter was your own mother, Morgan Fay. Wah! Alright, Pearls. It's time you started telling me the truth. Mr. Nick, Why is she holding back from me? I don't like this. So wait a second. We know that Pearl was the one who recommended this place. So did she do it having the instructions in her hands already? With everything in mind there? Don't underestimate me just because I'm a child. Huh? If you're trying to say I follow these instructions, I'd like to see some proof. What? Because I don't think you have any. She'd say anything rather than admit to carrying out those instructions. I guess I'll have to produce some more evidence then. One more thing should do it. Alright, Pearls. We both know someone carried out these instructions on the night of the murder. But you're right. There's no evidence that proves it was you. I knew it! However, I do know that whoever did it was a child. Huh? How do you know that? It couldn't have been an adult. No adult would have made a simple mistake like that. A simple mistake? What do you mean by that? I'm sure you thought you were carefully following the instructions you'd been given, but you misunderstood some of the words, and this is the evidence that proves it. Misunderstood some of the words? Hang on a second, let me look at this again. Gravely roast the master in the fires of Hades. Is it the... Gravely! Oh, gravy. That's what it is. I thought this was just someone being malicious. It was you who splattered gravy on this hanging scroll, wasn't it? Ah. What? Why would I do something like... Do you remember what was written in that letter? Gravely roast the master in the fires of Hades and bring our vengeance to fruition. But you didn't know how to read the words gravely and roast, among others, right? How do you know that? Remember the conversation you had with Miss Donim on the night of the murder? Perhaps we can read some books together. Really? I'd love to. I'm not very good at reading. Ha ha ha. Well then, would you like to practice reading with me? Miss Elise? So for example, how do you read this? It says gravely. That's kind of a tough word. So you did have the letter at that point. Sure, Miss Donim taught you how to read gravely and roast. But what she didn't teach you is what they meant. So wait a minute. Did Elise read the rest of that? Like, gravely roast the master? Like, if that's capitalized, then that's something that I imagine would have been kind of unnerving for her, right? Gravely sounded like gravy to me, and the only roast I could think of was the food. And that's why you did it. That's why you covered the pitcher of the master in gravy from that night's pot roast. To be honest, I did think it was a bit strange. I guess I really did get the wrong idea. Just a tiny bit. I really am useless. I couldn't even burn the letter properly as my mother had asked of me. Such a simple thing, and I couldn't even do it right. Alright. She got her health back. After dinner that night, I did go to the inner temple with a pot full of the leftover gravy. The gravy? I saw the picture on the hanging scroll near the sacred cavern. I was sure it was the Master of Khura'in, like it said in the letter. I see. And then? Well, it was already way past 10 when I got there because of all the snow. So I went to the inner temple guest area. The guest area? Yes, I thought I could wait there until the training was over. Why didn't you just go to the training hall? Because Mystic Maya's main training had already started, and I couldn't interrupt it. So I just stayed where I was and prayed for her to get through it. But then Pearls, did you fall asleep? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I just couldn't help it. Hey, don't worry about it, Pearl. Who cares if you fell asleep? I fall asleep waiting for Iris, too. It happens. Anyway, then you found yourself trapped at the inner temple. Yes, when I woke up it was morning. I tried not to cry, but Dusky Bridge wasn't there anymore and there was no one in the training hall. I thought everyone had left me because I overslept. I threw the letter into the incinerator, then I heated up the leftover gravy and let off some steam by chucking the gravy on the scroll while you cried. It must have been pretty scary for you, Pearl. I know what it's like. Nick used to leave me behind when I fell asleep at school, too. Don't equate something so trivial with her experience, Larry. Alright. Whoop, I did not mean to pick that one. Sorry about that. Funny that she calls her sister Iris. That's a little ironic. Alright, come on, there we go. There we are. It was written right in my mother's letter. It said, as soon as you hear the lights out bell, you must channel her spirit. I was on my way over to the inner temple when I heard the bell ring. So you channeled Dahlia Hawthorne's spirit? No, I tried, but I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it? I've never failed at channeling someone. This is the first time it has happened. I tried and I tried and I tried. Yesterday, this morning, the whole time. But I just couldn't do it. Don't let it get you down, Pearl. It'll all work out. If you want, I'll come flying through the sky for you. Whoosh! Just like that. So she never managed to channel the spirit. Is that why you think your spiritual powers are gone? And if that's the case, then who did channel Dahlia? Yes, I don't know what to do. Isn't there any other explanation for why you couldn't channel a spirit? I suppose there's one other possibility. It's not very likely, though. Could you please tell me what it is, anyway? It could happen if someone else was already channeling the same spirit. Aha! Someone else? What do you mean? Well, there's only one of each spirit, right? Yup, it's like dating a girl, Nick. You can't see a hot chick if she's already taken. Of course you'd go there. Then that would mean on the night of the murder, someone else channeled her spirit before Pearls could. Huh. So wait a second, if that's the case, then it must not have been something Misty would have been planning for, right? Not if she intended for Pearls to do it. Someone else channeled the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne. I'm a failure. I couldn't even grant my mother's final wish. Her final wish? Yes, this letter. This is my last wish, she said. So make sure you follow the instructions carefully. This letter. I definitely need to find out more about it. My mother had gone to a place called a penitentiary. Yeah, I know, Pearls. I visit her every month. And last month she told me, the time we've been waiting for has come, Pearl. There's something I need you to do for me. I hid a letter for you at our home before they brought me here. I want you to read it and do exactly what it says. It's for the good of the Fey clan, my angel. You'll be doing a great thing. Now listen carefully, and I'll tell you where the letter's hidden. My mother is always nice to me. I love her very much. Yeah, moms will do anything for their kids, right? Yeah, I think a little too much of anything in this case. She said it was for the good of the Fey clan, so I knew I had to help her. I mean, Mystic Maya's part of the Fey clan, so it had to be good for her, too. Oh, I don't know about that. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Nick? I guess so, yeah. There's a picture with her letter, too. A picture of Miss Dahlia Hawthorne. Usually a picture is enough to channel someone's spirits, but this time... Pretty weird, huh? Like Weary knows anything about this stuff. There's something else that was strange about my mother's letter. The seal on it was broken, as if someone had already opened it once before. That sure is pretty strange. Someone had opened it already? Burnt letter, updated in the court record. Orders from Morgan Fay. Opened once before. Thanks, Pearls. You really helped me out. You're very welcome. My mother's watching over us, so I'm sure Mystic Maya will be alright. Look at that innocent smile on her face. What am I supposed to say to her? Ha. Hey, kiddo. Finally figured out. Have you tried? You finally realized how terrible the crime being painfully oblivious is. Godot. The entrance to the sacred cavern looks like a freaking puzzle workshop. Puzzle workshop sounds like a new iteration of Chip's Challenge or something. I guess he's talking about Iris and the lock-breaking effort. But it's all a waste of time. Why do you say that? Because Maya Fey isn't coming back. What? You don't know what you're talking about. How can you say something like that? It was your job to protect her, Trite. Just like it was your job to protect Mia Fey. Two sisters caught up in the worst circumstances. I realize that, but... And you were the only one who was by their sides. You were the only one who could have saved them. But I didn't know anything about what was going on. Ha. What did I just say, Trite? Being oblivious is a heinous crime in and of itself. Tomorrow. We'll settle everything in court tomorrow. Once and for all. Wow, I like that music. Mr. Nick, is what that man just said true? It'll be alright, Pearls. I'm sure Maya's alive. You'll see for yourself tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. I know I can trust you, Mr. Nick. My dear Pearl, you've done so well, my child. My Pearl. It's better that you don't know what you've done. I knew this day would come for you. The blood of the main family is no more. Now, finally, after all this time, the Master's seat is yours. My last great wish. It seems I was just in time. To be continued. What does she mean by just in time? Alright, well, in the next episode, we are going to finally go to trial and wrap things up. So until then, thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. So take care, and I'll